Kindergarten readers, today we are going to focus on being retelling rock stars. To be a retelling rock star, we are going to learn that I can identify the characters, the setting, and the major events in a story. I do that by asking who is in the story, where the story happened, and what happened in the story. So, in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. You can use the words like first, next, and last to help tell what happened in the story. So, our story today is called The Pout Pout Fish Cleans Up the Ocean. Now, just looking at my front cover, think about who is in the story, and also by reading the title, think about where the story is happening, and what do you think is going to happen in the story? As I read, keep in mind that we are being retelling rock stars and thinking about who is in the story, where the story is, and what is happening in the story. Go ahead and grab a piece of paper, and you can use the example picture below, or divide it into 5 boxes. You can pause the video here and grab your paper. You're going to use this paper as we read, and I ask you to stop to think about these questions that retelling rock stars ask themselves. The Pout Pout Fish cleans up the ocean. The ocean is amazing. Mr. Fish's grin was wide. The beautiful surroundings left him wonderstruck inside. His head was full of happy, and his heart was full of awe, but his smile sank away when he turned around and saw a big, big mess. Whatever could it be? But he couldn't really tell, so he talked with a friend who had noticed it as well. There's a problem that needs solving, and I don't know what to do, but I'm going to find some answers. Would you like to join me too? Absolutely, said Miss Shimmer. As she grabbed a few supplies, they'd travel to the mystery mess and see with their own eyes. Swimming off, they were enchanted by the ocean big and bright, but looming in the distance was that dark, dismal sight. A big, big mess. What's it made of? They both wondered, and they pondered this out loud. Around them others gathered, in a small but growing crowd. There's a problem that needs solving, and we don't know what to do. But we're going to find some answers. Would you like to join us too? Count us in, said Mr. Seahorse, and he powered up his rig. Enthusiasm bubbled. Yes, the group was getting big. They jetted through the ocean in a peaceful sort of bliss. But the thing that stretched before them was impossible to miss. A big, big mess. Who will fix it? Fish were asking, hoping someone else would know. There was lots of conversation as they traveled with the flow. There's a problem that needs solving, and we don't know what to do. But we're going to find some answers. Would you like to join us too? All as one, said Mrs. Squid, as she swished around some junk. The group continued forward towards the nearing pile of gunk. They reached the mystery mess. They took measurements and samples. They made notes, and they did research. They found similar examples. When everyone was finished, they assembled to discuss. They came to one conclusion. The problem is us. We made the big mess. They froze in disbelief. Then they all began to shout, feeling troubled and uneasy, and some began to pout. So we're going to pause right here and look at our Retelling Rock Stars chart and see if we can answer some of these story elements. So first, ask who is in the story. Looking at the cover and going through the book, the characters in the story were Mr. Fish, there was Mrs. Squid, a seahorse, and lots of other sea animals. So go ahead and stop and sketch or write who was in the story in one of your boxes or your character box. Now, let's think about where the story happened. That's the setting box. As I read, I noticed that this story happened in the ocean or the sea, whichever one you want to call it. So go ahead and pause the video so you can add to your next box or the setting box and tell me with a picture or words where the story happened. Awesome. Now, let's go to our last box. This box has your what happened in it, the beginning, middle, and end. First, we start with the beginning. I remember first in the book, Mr. Fish woke up very happy in the ocean, but then he noticed there was a big mess. So he gathered and asked other sea animals if they would like to join him to figure out what the big mess was. Go ahead and pause the video so you can add a picture or words and tell me what happened in the beginning of the story. Then we go to the next box. What happened in the middle of the story? Next, the fish gathered together to find the big mess, and they found out that they had made the big mess. And then they all were worried. Pause the video and add to your next box. What happened in the middle of the story? Show me with a picture or words. Awesome. Now we're going to hold off on our last box, which is what happened at the end of the story, because we have to keep reading. Were they stuck with this forever? Would it worsen? Would it grow? Mr. Fish was worried too. But there's one thing that I know. It's awful that we caused it, but this bad news can be good, for it means that we can solve it, if we all agree we should. Silence filled the ocean. Their failure was at stake. Their future was at stake. It was a moment of decision. But which one would they make? A big yes. We can do it, they explained. Positively, yes and yep. So they all pitched in together, and they cleaned the ocean up. They gathered up the garbage with the help of everyone. They worked to fix and remedy the damage that they'd done. Then they talked about new habits, how to travel with less trace, and reduce their use of plastic and put trash into its place. Problems have solutions, so we learn what we can do. Together, we're the answer. Would you like to join us too? So now I can fill in my last box and answer what happened at the end of the story. Last, Mr. Fish and all the fish decided on ways that they can fix the problem and clean up the big mess. They also thought of new habits, like traveling so they don't leave a trace, reducing their plastic, and putting trash in the right place, so maybe recycling and putting it in the trash can. So go ahead and you can retelling rock stars, on your piece of paper, after you have filled out who is in the story, where the story happened, and what happened at the story using first, next, and last, go ahead and tell us in a video or audio note, or you can share a picture of your work.